Local market on the very day her child went missing.
You see Deborah Bradley, Lisa's mother, and another man walk into this grocery store, which is about a mile or so away from this neighborhood here, and they walk away. Everything looks very calm.
She's the sweetest little girl I've ever seen. She's always smiling. When you go up to her and you tickle her, she starts laughing.
She's everything. She's our little girl. She's completed our family, and she means everything to my boys, and we need her home.
Where is baby Lisa? Police in Kansas City, Missouri say the gorgeous 11-month-old baby girl, what a beautiful child, vanished without a trace last week, apparently snatched from her crib. Baby Lisa's mom, Deborah Bradley, told cops she put her daughter to bed at about 10:30 on Monday night, October 3rd, when the baby's dad came home from work the following morning, and he worked the overnight shift, so he comes back at about 4 in the morning. He tells police the door's open, the lights are on, the front window's open, and he sees that the door to the baby's room is open, and he goes in there, investigates, the baby's gone. Police have, well, they say they have no leads, they have no suspects, but they were very curious about this particular development. Hours before baby Lisa disappeared, her mom, Deborah Bradley, was seen at a grocery store with a man who is not Jeremy Irwin, Lisa's father. This is surveillance video from the store. Now, the mom, there she is, buying a box of wine with a male friend. She is also picking up baby wipes and baby food with this male friend. The video shows them right here checking out at the checkout counter, chatting with the store clerk. So this extraordinary video shows what the mother was doing just a few hours before the child was, according to her, last seen. Straight out to Ed Lavandera, who has obtained exclusively this video and also spoke exclusively with the clerk at the store. Quite a scoop, Ed. Congratulations on that. What have you learned?
You know, it was really interesting because this kind of gives us a sense of what Deborah Bradley, the mother of baby Lisa, was doing about 5.5 hours before she had told police that she put the baby to sleep last Monday night. And she comes into the store with that friend who, and the clerk tells us that that is someone that she had seen Deborah and her husband hang out with before. She'd seen the three of them together, or them kind of mixing and matching. And definitely, we've gotten the sense that that is someone they know. They spent about 6 minutes in the store. Everything seemed jovial at times. Actually, if you take a close look at that video and as she's walking out, Deborah seems to have a big smile on her face. The clerk that we talked to said that they've had long conversations over, she's worked there a couple years, has seen them in and out of that store many times, sometimes with the kids, sometimes without. And the one thing that struck me is that she mentioned, the clerk told me that over the years, especially during the time that Deborah was pregnant with baby Lisa, that both parents had talked about how happy they were to finally being able to raise a daughter and how much they were looking forward to that. This clerk had seen that baby Lisa on a number of occasions and talked about how beautiful she was and how friendly and how happy and jovial the baby was. So it was interesting insight to some of the dynamics. She did tell us also, Jane, that she was interviewed by FBI agents on Saturday for about 30 minutes, and the questions that they asked her really focused heavily on Deborah. What was her state of mind? Did she seem nervous? Did she seem panicked? Or did she ever mention anything that someone was angry at her? That sort of thing. Those were the kind of questions that she told us that FBI agents were very much interested in.
Well, I hear that you have some sound.
Sure.
Ed, I hear you have some sound that you've obtained. Tell us about that. Let's hear that.
Yeah, we can listen to a little bit, kind of talk to her about a number of things. And I think the things that stood out the most to me were we asked her about her conversations with the FBI agents, what they wanted to know, and talked about what she told those FBI agents as to Deborah's state of mind on last Monday afternoon.
They pretty much asked me, if she was depressed, if she seemed depressed, how she acted around the baby, if she, seemed stressed out. Pretty much, questions that, I would know, because she would talk to me a lot,
And what'd you tell her?
I pretty much told them she never looked depressed around me. She always seemed to have a smile on her face when her kids were around.
I want to go out to Mike Brooks now and ask Mike, Echelon law enforcement analyst, what is the significance of the FBI focusing in on this shopping spree where the mother buys wine out of a box, which I never even knew wine came in a box until yesterday, and with this man, and now they're talking to the checkout lady. What does it mean?
Well, the FBI agents, they are specialists in dealing with child abductions, possible child abductions. So they're looking for specific clues when they're talking to this woman, just like they probably did when they talked to Deborah Bradley. But again, it's all part of the investigation. You have to follow up on every lead, anyone she had contact with. You want to talk to them. I would want to talk to them and find out exactly, state of mind. How many times did you see it? Who is she with? How many times did you see her with this guy? Did you see her with her boyfriend and this guy? All the questions that probably, were asked by a lot of other people, and probably they were asked by Eddie Lavandera.
Well, let's listen to what the store clerk told Ed Lavandera when he spoke to her exclusively and asked her if it was strange to see Deborah Bradley, the mom of the missing 11-month-old child, with another man buying wine.
No, because they normally are, around each other a lot. Like, if it's not her and him, it's her fiance and him, and they're just like really close friends. So
with this Philip guy.
Yes.
All right. So you'd seen them together before.
Yes, but they were not just those two together. They would be with Jeremy as well.
Okay.
Like they were really close friends.
Now, let's say this mother is not considered a suspect or a person of interest according to law enforcement, and we don't want to condemn her for going and buying a wine with a male friend. It could be a very innocent explanation for all of that. Allison Treasel.
And actually, I think it really bodes well for her that she bought baby wipes and food. Anybody that's going to kill a child isn't going to stockpile food and wipes to only a few hours later kill the child. So I think that's actually, actually helpful for whether or not she was involved. Now, certainly things could have gone wrong later in the evening, but at that moment, she had no intention of harming this child.
I would be very interested to know whether there was wine left over in the box of wine.
Absolutely.
Or whether all the wine was consumed, because part of the problem is she says that she went to sleep with one of the older children, a 6-year-old boy, and she did not hear, apparently, this intruder who broke in through a window, allegedly, and turned on all the lights, and then went into the baby's room, took the baby, and walked out the front door, and she didn't hear any of it. Well, if you've been drinking some wine, you might not wake up. You might be passed out. Here's a cop trying to get into the window that the family believes the intruder entered, and here's another thing the store clerk said about Deborah Bradley, the missing child's mother's demeanor that afternoon. Listen to this. It's a clue, maybe.
She had a smile on her face. I mean, like she always does when she comes in here. She, loves her kids to death. I always ask her how the kids are doing. She tells me they're great,
Now, here's the bizarre thing about this, is that the police keep saying that this mother is not a suspect. Some of the relatives have been quoted as saying that they thought that she's going to be arrested. They feel that maybe the police have to pin it on somebody, and that somebody is Deborah Bradley. Now, they've kind of backtracked from that, Mike Brooks, but you get a sense that there's a lot of focus on this mom, even though friends say she was a wonderful mother, had absolutely no reason to harm her child, and yet it seems to linger because, for example, she herself said that cops told her she failed a polygraph.
Right, but I mean, you want to eliminate people closest to the little girl. And maybe law enforcement, they're not quite satisfied yet, Jane, with some of the answers they were getting. It could have been the polygraph. It could have been something from, her boyfriend, the baby's father. It could have been other things, but they're still looking. They searched a wooded area today, but still, have they totally eliminated her? We have not heard that. Law enforcement, they're not giving up much information. And as a former investigator, that's a good thing. They shouldn't be throwing things out there.
All right. Well, listen, we're just getting started on this subject. We're going to go back to Ed Lavandera, who got an exclusive interview and obtained video of a store surveillance exclusively, and we're also going to take your calls. Where is baby Lisa? Could a mystery man have played a role in her disappearance? So give me a holler. What are your theories? What are your questions? 1-877-JVM says, 1-877-586-7297. Later, we're going to talk to the godfather of Mike.
I've ever seen. She's always smiling. Just, when you go up to her and you tickle her, she starts laughing. Seems like, she doesn't have a problem with strangers.
Now, that woman is a store clerk, and she witnessed the mother of missing baby Lisa several hours before the child was last seen going into a grocery store with a male friend and purchasing a box of wine and then leaving. And she also, the mother, purchased baby wipes and baby food, which, of course, observers are saying, well, that sounds like a mother who's concerned about her child. If she were thinking of doing anything untoward with her child, why would she buy baby food and baby wipes? Again, she is not considered a suspect. This is a mystery. Nobody has any idea what happened to her child, who was allegedly snatched, abducted from her bedroom. Child who just turned 11 months yesterday. Gloria, Nevada, your question or thought from caller Gloria.
Hi, Jane. Yes, my question is, where was the baby at the time she was at the store? Who was taking care of the child while she was at the store?
That's a very good question. Ed Lavandera, you spoke exclusively to this store clerk. Meantime, there's the baby who was 10 months old. There's 2 older boys as part of this blended family. Who was watching the kids while she's at the store?
Well, we're getting that question a lot. It was one of the first things that popped into my head as we were watching this video this afternoon and speaking with the clerk. But she did say that it wasn't out of the ordinary. Sometimes she would show up with the children, sometimes she wouldn't. So in my head, just kind of doing some math. We haven't had a chance to ask the family that question. They're not really taking questions anymore from us. But if the father got home around 4, let's say he worked a 4-hour shift, that means like he would have gone to work maybe around 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. This was just before 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so conceivably maybe he hadn't left for work yet. The children could have been at home with him. That's just guessing on my part, just some logical guessing. But we don't know where the kids were at the time and who was watching them at the time. But they clearly weren't with their mother.
So again, more from your exclusive interview with the store clerk. You asked the store clerk if she thought baby Lisa's parents had anything to do with this precious little child's disappearance. And let's listen to the answer she gave to Ed Lavandera.
From my interaction, I really don't think they have anything to do with this. I mean, I really don't. I mean, I can't sit here and, say that yes or no, because, I don't know what's going through their minds. But I honestly think they have nothing to do with it.
Mike Brooks, there are no suspects, according to police. Now, what do you make of the fact that the mother reportedly said that the cops told her she failed the polygraph, but the cops are like, well, that's what she's saying. We're not saying that.
Well, and they're not going to say it. I can guarantee you that right now. Maybe she did. Some people react differently to a polygraph. And, I always say, Jane, a polygraph is only as good as the examiner who is giving it. So maybe there were some inconclusive answers that weren't, what we'd say lies, if you will. So I'd have to take a look at the sheet itself to say whether or not she actually failed it or some of the answers were inconclusive. But I find it interesting that there's now a private investigator involved in all of this, Jane, who apparently, they're not saying who's paying for him, but apparently there's some rich guy out there who's paid for this private investigator, a retired NYPD cop who's retired on disability, who's down there now, and who was with the family, who was with the other family members, and is apparently going to be the liaison, if you will, with the media now.
You are absolutely right. A private security consultant says a wealthy family just came out of the blue and said, we want to help find this 10-month-old child who just turned 11 months old yesterday. And actually, the private investigator is Bill Stanton, somebody that we've had on our show Issues a number of times. Very good private eye. And